Hello, gang. Welcome to Sketching with Izzy. Hopefully, you're all doing well. We're just continuing our weird dragon, snail, slug monster. Hopefully, the audio is working. It looks like it. Eh, you know what? Fuck it. Hi, Evan. How's it doing? A movie frame study? I don't see why not. It's doable. They're pretty easy. You're looking to see movie frame studies from the perspective of just like matching color, or what are you after there? What movie do you want to see a movie screenshot from? Not a bad idea. Something to do. Hellboy. Anything Guillermo del Toro is pretty good. I got a crush on him too. Let's see. I'm checking the pages just to make sure it's not going to be any terrible surprises for us. So these are from Golden Army. I find that if you're going to do, hey Dan Rob, welcome. If you're going to be doing screenshot studies, the way to approach it is probably do the stuff that you don't think is that interesting, you know, like just conversations and shit, because those are going to teach you a lot about composition. It's kind of counterintuitive, but a lot of the action stuff tends to happen. There's lots of motion. You can't see, you know, the compositions are incidental rather than purposeful. You liked that Fire Girl one? Let's take a look and see. This one? Yeah, no. There's not a lot to be gained from that aside from studying fire effects, which is something we could do. But what you're going to be looking for when you're trying to pick some out is stuff that's going to teach you about lighting. It's going to teach you about composition. It's going to teach you about value pooling, things like that. Like these would be great for value pooling and lighting, because you could basically do one single shape to describe almost everything in it, and then it's just a bit of light here and there. These would be great for color relationships, but they're not going to help you very much. It's mostly an effects study rather than it would be like a proper film study. See that? And that one's got some interesting compositional stuff going on. I think that's probably animated. Oh no, it's fixed. Yeah, that's definitely purposeful, that little arrow back there. This is a great composition. Think about the negative and positive shapes. Yeah, I'm never inclined to do hero shots when I do this. It's always the little moments I like to do. Lazy, welcome. Life is definitely all about positive and negative shapes. There's a lesson in that one, I'm sure. Some great color stuff happening in this shot. So these are not too bad for action shots. Like these would be where things aren't too blurry and there's kind of like a clear original intent in the composition and the staging of the characters. This would be great for study for things like magic cards, high action illustration stuff, riot images. So I had a watcher recommend some changes to the channel in order to up the interaction a little bit. How would you guys feel about portraits? If you guys were to post selfies and I did portraits, you know, to Twitter or something like that. Or if I did like character or creature design challenges with you. Think that would be a fun thing to do? I'm mixing my soda and coffee like a real weirdo. Soda coffee. I like these colors. There's definitely like kind of a through line of gold and teal throughout this film. I think the gold and the teal are they're sort of the base colors for the theme. Which makes sense. It's called the Golden Army. What about Magma Studio? Yeah, we could set something like that up. Let me make a note of that. I keep forgetting to check it out. I'm so bad about this stuff. Wait, Google. That's what I need. Okay. To do today. What if you don't have an account with Magma Studio? It's a maximum of what, like 12 artists, right? Magma Studio is this site which basically allows you to draw simultaneously on the same whiteboard as a group of people. Yeah, soda and coffee. I got my soda, see? And my coffee. I'm weird that way. I mean, it's not like it's Dr. Pepper or anything. Would that I could. It's just soda water I make myself. $30 artists max. Okay. Honestly, yeah, that sounds like a nightmare to maintain. But it is interactive. I'll give you that. I'm just skipping multiple layers or multiple pages. There's some interesting color combinations. Do I ever do DTIYS? No. What is that? Draw this in your style. Is that like a challenge or something? Like everybody draws something differently? Green and red. It's a good mix. That was an awesome scene. What a great movie. I think it was pretty underrated. Great light. The Sailor Moon thing? Oh, Yeah, I generally, when it comes to making art, I tend to avoid fad stuff in general, but I'm working on it. It's tough. Oh, that would be interesting. So with other Twitch sites, how do they do that? Like, how would you get your image up here on the chat? You just would paste a link, and we would just dig through them randomly, or what? Or is it something that you would do ahead of time? I wonder. Like, I'm assuming maybe Twitter would be the way to do it. Like, collect images on there, or have the image proposals on Twitter. I'm only asking because I figured maybe you'd seen it done before. It's so weird how they got him to look like Tom Cruise. Actor doesn't look anything like him, too. A once a month challenge, yeah. Environment stuff. You've basically watched the whole movie now. You don't need to see it anymore. It's done. Spoiled. Yeah, it's a great movie. I really, really loved it. Honestly, I think Guillermo del Toro is amazing. He can do no wrong in my book. I didn't like the new one as much. I mean, it was pretty okay. It had moments. I really wanted to love it because I'm a big fan of what's his name, the actor that played it from Stranger Things. I'm totally spacing on his name right now. There were a lot of cool moments in the new Hellboy. Super cool shit. Awesome character design. It just wasn't constructed in a way that kind of made sense. It didn't really stand out for me. It was kind of forgettable. Yeah, actually, I've been kind of waiting. I want to rewatch Shape of Water, but I've been holding off on that for a while. I want to give it time to kind of fade more so that I can enjoy the freshness of it again. I did that not too long ago with Pan's Labyrinth, which is a massive favorite of mine. I also loved Devil's Backbone. God damn, the guy's just so great. All right, you guys decide, A or B. Do one of the angels. Top one's A, bottom one's B. Sana, hit me. What's your question? No. Lots of leaning towards B. It's just because there's a girl, isn't it? Come on. You want to just see this part painted? Like nothing else, just that one little square? It is difficult. That is true. We're all simps in the end. It's true. Tell you what, let's do them both. Fuck it. Why not? It's just a warm up anyway. Doesn't have to be perfect. Not the color I picked. All right. It's hard. It's very tempting when you're doing this to just color pick from the source material, but you're actually denying yourself a little bit of experience if you do so. Well, I'm pretty regularly telling my students about doing traditional media studies. The biggest reason for this, and why I tend to push it pretty hard, even though it is fairly outmoded these days, is it will force you to learn color mixing and color observance. You need to master understanding the color relationships that are happening and be able to analyze them to be a successful painter. It's going to be an important feature. And color's not easy. It's really not. It's one of those things that it can feel like you just got it, you have it sussed out, you're all good. But let me tell you, if you're missing fundamentals in regard to color relationships, color theory, it's going to show right away. A pro's going to see right through it. You picked B as it looked more difficult? We'll get there. What do you need to learn about Photoshop, Lazy? I'm pretty good. I can explain stuff. I actually forgot to do my I forgot to change the monitor. Oops. Oopsie. All right, give me 1 second. Hopefully we don't crash. Yay! There we go. I keep forgetting to do that. All right, now you guys can see everything, hopefully. Doesn't look like shit's just missing anymore. Is that better? You did a painting a while ago and uploaded it on Instagram, so someone wants to buy it. But the thing is, you made it on a lower size canvas. No, it's not easy to upsize. There are some applications, I've never used them, you can go on Google or DuckDuckGo, which I prefer, and look up upsizing or rescaling software for JPEGs. And you're going to need something that has an algorithm that will handle the artifacts that happen. Unfortunately, Photoshop, at least the versions I have, it is not capable of up-resing in a really sufficient way. It will become blurry. The reason for that is what it does is it just multiplies pixels when you make something bigger and you just up-res it. So for every pixel you see, we can even zoom in to show you this effect. So if you're looking at a pixel here, let's say this one, right? So that one pixel becomes 4, becomes 8, becomes 10. So what you get is just like less and less refined, and it becomes blurrier and blurrier the larger you make it. So all you're really doing is just zooming in endlessly. You're not actually adding data. So there are some programs, I've heard of some that are pretty good. They're not great, but they're pretty good about that. But if you're looking to do like an upsize of like 2 or 3 times, it's probably not going to be enough. You'll have to repaint it. But that's also good. Do I think using RGB sliders is a good idea? Absolutely not. Not for a painter. When you are actually painting and trying to do your color mixing and things like that, you are thinking about the relationships according to the paint itself. RGB is if you're painting with light. That's additive. You want to paint subtractive, which is painting with pigment. So the closest thing digitally that you can get to painting with pigment is hue, saturation, and brightness rather than RGB. If you're painting with RGB, what you're doing is you're changing the amounts of red light, green light, and blue light, which is really difficult to manage. It's hard to, if you don't think that way on the outset, it's really hard to mix those colors because they do not behave. When you mix our red, green, and blue light, they do not behave the way you understand colors to be mixed traditionally as we're all taught in school. So, red and green don't give you the same thing that you would think. Yeah. Oh, you're doing the upresing, or you're doing a repaint, Sana? Is it all one word, Sanabil? I like to try and say people's names right. It's okay. Just think of it as an opportunity to do a study, except you're doing a film study of your own work. All right, so I'm squinting at my source because all I want is kind of simple shapes. It's a good idea to real quick get in some point of reference, just so we have a rough compositional shape. So one of the things I've been working on lately, as I mentioned a couple of sessions ago, is I'm really trying to spend time. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This was a lesson I made this last lesson, which was about values. I'm really trying to spend time studying value relationships on light side versus dark side. I think with my years of rendering under my belt, I've gotten a little bit sloppy with my values. So actually this is a good idea because it'll force me to it'll really force me to think about how the value relationships work. And that's super important stuff. So one of the cool things is being able to flip. We can really check overall shapes. When I'm doing this stuff, as I explained on last Thursday's session for the figure drawing, I'm not just thinking about the drawing of the guy. What I'm thinking about is this negative shape between his head and the edge of the canvas, right? That is just as important, if not more important, than the drawing itself. Because it's going to help me with my placement of everything. I know that his head is going to be just right of center. So I can tell basically that my figure is too big already. And it's never going to be exactly right. That's okay. This stuff can get intimidating almost always because the artist, usually student that's doing these kinds of studies, is so fixated on getting the accuracy that they freeze themselves out and they get stuck. So the big takeaway I want to give you, if you're going to try doing studies like this or just any practice, if you're painting from life or whatever, is to remember that most of the time people are not going to be seeing your source material. So try to, instead of thinking about trying to get exact accuracy, try to think about what it is you're trying to get out of the study. Is it simplification? And you should always be studying with purpose. So is it simplification? Are you trying to master color? You're trying to master composition. So my goal this time is to focus on value relationships. That's my goal from the outset. If it looks exactly like whatever's there, great, whatever. But that's not really the point. The point is that this is an exercise. It's like working out. I'm spending the time to focus on a very specific issue that I feel I've got, and put the time in to improve it. And if you spend the time on that specific thing, it's not going to be time wasted. If you try and handle too many things at one time or in one study, you're going to totally drown yourself out. Hopefully that shit makes sense. Sanabil. Okay, I will attempt to remember to use your full name. There's kind of a purpleness to it that I like. You know me in purple. It's an unhealthy relationship I've got. Oh yeah, this is the guy that dies horribly. They call him hair plugs. I'm also thinking about brush economy. How to describe things with minimal amount of painting. I find, and I think you'll probably find this is true also, that the sexiest stuff that fits this kind of study is the stuff that tends to look like it's not overwrought. And that's something I didn't get when I was in school. When I had to do film studies, I would always overdo it. It took me a while. I'm a slow learner. I'm a simple man. You've written all what down? What I just said about study? That's good. Hopefully you can post that on my Twitter or something like that for other people. Actually, if you're not opposed, I don't have anybody that's been doing clips, so clip would be really useful for other artists. If you please. Let's get some green in here. There's definitely a little bit of... Brighten that up. Let's see. And if you want to, feel free to join me and do study along with me. Pick out a movie still. I'm rendering. Did you notice that? So I'm going to stop rendering. I'm going to zoom back out. Big shapes. So, I mentioned the tone lock gimmick on this of this panel, and I have it. Even though I think no, mine was off. But what I'm doing when I'm changing the colors and the values is I'm effectively doing what the tone lock does automatically, and it's a good idea to get into practice with that because it's one of the most useful tools that you can have if you're painting directly in color and value from the outset. It needs to be significantly greenered. Can you elaborate, Sonabil? Do you mean like what sort of classes did I take, or do you mean like actual applications in terms of computers? Get some more green in. What kind of classes? So was it just painting or were other programs involved? Okay, I see what you're saying. So essentially, the way Art Center worked was the different disciplines were divided into different programs, which changed what was available to you to take in the first place. I did the illustration track in the beginning, and me and a few other people basically helped develop the entertainment track. It didn't even exist then. So that was essentially taking illustration and then drawing it more into concept art and entertainment, entertainment-based design. So concept art for video games, film, things like that. There were classes for that, but there wasn't a track for that, which outlined what specific classes you need to take. So my first 2 years were illustration based. I did not even touch paint until probably a year into schooling. Before that, I mean, I touched paint, but not like this. I wasn't painting this kind of thing. I did a lot of figure drawing classes, head drawing classes, materials exploration, where we got to try out different materials. And I think they put all of that stuff at the beginning in order to promote you figuring out what it is you want to do, which I'm really glad they did. When I first started going to Art Center, I wanted to be a comic book artist. So I was only interested in drawing. I was only interested in making comics. And so I tried to make my first comic, and it was a total failure. And I realized how much work actually goes into it. And that kind of popped that balloon for me a little bit. After I finally started getting into the paint classes, I really found I enjoyed it. And that's kind of where I found my joy. And I stuck with it, and I love painting. That hasn't changed. He's got a very squat face. Relatively. I'm going to spread it out a little bit. Once it got to painting, it was kind of doing the same thing again, except now with a more difficult material. I will not shit you. Paint is much more difficult than drawing. But the skills, there are skills that cross over. And I think that the reason that traditionally drawing is taught first is so that it's just like what we're talking about here in terms of practice. You want to make sure that you are practicing in the most efficient way possible to improve your chances of learning and to stack the skill sets. Because once you master something, it becomes easier and it becomes less of a challenge to think about all the time. In fact, you stop thinking about it. When you master something, you stop thinking about it and it becomes second nature. That's basically the goal of all this kind of schooling anyway. So you want to master fundamentals, build on top of the fundamentals with more and more and more complex and more sort of subtle skill sets. And so painting is a subtle one compared to drawing. There are so many things that cross over. It's kind of tough to make a statement like that, and it can probably be off-putting to hear it. I understand. I'm not saying one is better. I'm just saying that there's a subtlety that comes that is required to be successful at painting that is not as necessary when you're just dealing with line, because you're only dealing with line. When you start, so we had this great transitional exercise. I actually have the exercise in my class on Gumroad. If you look it up, it's called the T-shirt exercise. And what that was we began to use charcoal and charcoal mediums to mimic how paint behaves and how light and dark should play against each other in paint. And it was such a great transitional system, a great transitional lesson that I had to adapt it and adopt it for digital. So it's worth checking out. I learned a ton doing those exercises and in kind of understanding the relationship between drawing and painting and where one begins and then the other ends. And it's a great, fun thing to do. It's very simple and super cheap. That's the other thing I liked about it. Kind of looks like some weird fucked up Nixon, eh? I'm not here to render. I just want to capture, like I said, the value relationships and the colors here. I want you to pay attention, very close attention to the colors that I'm making that are up here, and not pay attention to what you see here, because it is those relationships that we're building. It's so easy to get caught up in the symbolism of not the symbolism, that's not the right word. The expectations for what colors are in regard to flesh, any colors, honestly. But these colors don't operate in vacuums. They're not just flesh tone. You know what I mean? That is not a thing. Flesh can be purple, it can be blue, it can be green, it can be dead gray, baby shit brown, and it will fit. If it's the right tone, the right color, and the right spot, it will fit every time. Color is so much more complex, and light affects it so much. I love this kind of study. It's so fun. I may have over darkened that light side there. Oops. Wish I had the time to actually practice art. Hey, that's all right. If you're teaching it, teach it. I basically do things like this because it forces me to do it, and to spend the time doing exercises and just do studies and just make things up and practice. And also, there's a product out of it. One, we're actually talking, so this is a huge part of it. It's just this interaction right now. And then I also have the content, so I'll have the video and I'll have the paintings afterwards. So it's such a great way to approach this. You're getting so many things for one. So you should get a Twitch and start doing some drawings. All y'alls. That's way too bright. I'm going to try and just group these colors and values together. One of the big tricks with figuring out your colors is, and you know how I'm kind of mixing, and basically this is the equivalent of mixing. Like, okay, I'm adding a little bit of a color in order to desaturate, or I'm adding a color in order to saturate, or I'm trying to warm or cool. Those are my primary things I'm thinking about, is how to saturate, desaturate, make warm, or make cool. I'm not thinking this needs to be more orange, this needs to be more red. It's there, but that's not as important as the other things. The most, probably if you were to tier it, it would be saturate, desaturate, warm or cool, and then is it the correct hue? It helps to approach this with a system. That's for damn sure. All right, let's just leave that alone for now because I'm rendering and that's not the goal here. So I'm just going to group all those values together because that's how they look when I squint. I'm just going to put it all together right now. And my darks, I'm noticing, so the darks that I have are basically the darks that I had back there. Oh, it's not even as dark as back there. So I'm going to, real quick, I think we can probably, oops, I have to change that. I'm going to lock the transparency there, and I'm just painting on the pixels I have established already, just so I don't mess up my outline. So now that I'm introducing this darker dark, notice how it changes the relative values of the rest. There is no such thing as the vacuum. All right, so I've unlocked my, he's got kind of a pistol here. I'm just gonna color grab from within my own thing. That's too bright, but whatever. Okay, it's not important. It's just there. I'm just acknowledging that it's there. I don't need it beyond that. You have to have a very small portion of the day to actually paint. Yeah, it's good if you have limited time. Careful and thoughtful study is going to be even more important because you don't have much time to do it. So if you sit down with a game plan about what it is you're going to spend time on to study with that little limited time, you can get more out of it. You're going to get the knowledge that you're after. You're going to get the skills that you're after. But you got to devote it requires that kind of preparation and forethought to really get the most out of it. If I skip doing the mouth, it'll fuel your nightmares. Well, so you'll notice that after we added that darker dark, basically we've expanded the gamut that's possible to us. It now changes the relative values of the face. So yeah, it does look a little bit nightmare-y. But if I use that dark, if I use that same dark for the mouth, it changes the values on the face even further. So I don't want to go that dark. I want to use something that's a little less dark. And we're going to warm it up significantly. Although warming, it's going to change the value relationship and the saturation relationship. See that? So I'm changing the saturation, I'm changing the hue, and I don't change the brightness. You would think that it would still stay the same value, but no. Color is a very sneaky guy. Nope, I don't want to render actually. I'm totally doing that right now. So let's just simplify. We're just going to use the one color. I'm mostly just concerned with the core shadow right now. I'm gonna let the shadow side just kind of fall off. It's not a photo. It's a study. And we'll leave that. It's done for now. Make sure our shapes are correct. The angle of all of this is wrong. Oh. Nope, that did not work. You're swamped with college at the moment? I understand. Instead of going in and finding the lights, what I'm doing is I'm just outlining with darks here. With paint and light in specific, there's always at least two ways to do everything. You can either paint a light object, like pull the light out. You can pull the light out by pushing the darks around it back, or the reverse. That's it. That's pretty much the primary ways that you can handle anything. So this kind of thinking and technique is something I'd really like to be able to do more of in my my freelance work. But it's really tough. There's such an expectation to make things so finished, but I really like this kind of look where it's just kind of chunky and sketchy. Get in here. We're back in the background now that we've got kind of... My whole goal was only just to kind of mark out where he was at. That got out of hand pretty fast, didn't it? Hey, thanks for hanging, Sonaville. Take care. I like doing this clipping mask system because then I can do things like carve out edges. Do a little push and pull. I also like using real rough, simple brushes. You can see here. This is a really ugly... I like it for the effect that it has at smaller sizes. It gives you a nice kind of chalky pastel feel. But I'm using it specifically to hobble myself to prevent myself from going in there and being like, okay, well, I'm going to do this little... I don't want that. Yes, it would look more accurate and more realistic, but that's not the goal of this. Managing yourself, like you got to constantly kind of hold back when you're doing these kinds of studies and prevent going down all the paths that you know. The whole point is to push yourself. I'm listening to a what do you call it? A synthwave song, and they're using samples from Legend. It's Tim Curry as the Darkness. Awesome. I'm feeling pretty good about that. That's probably... I am just painting opaque on top now. I'm not worried about the separate layers. I'm treating it as a finished illustration at this point. Yeah, it's very tempting to keep going, to dig in, start rendering. All I want is the big relationships right now. Whoops. It's hard to hold yourself to that. It's really hard. Try not to describe anything that can't be described in a single stroke. You don't want to scribble, you don't want to render. Hey, Naomi. How's it going? Welcome. Yeah, we're doing film studies today. It was Abed's idea, I believe. Yeah, zooming in too much is going to really cost you in terms of this kind of study. I think you really don't want to get you don't want to get closer than 100% on that at all, because it doesn't matter. Make sure it's clipping to my original frame. Honestly, I think there's enough there. That was useful. Whoa. So now we can analyze it. Do your bow. So now we analyze it, and we take a look at, especially from a distance, what we have here. What is our takeaway? We're not looking for accuracy. What we're looking for is specifically what I assigned myself: value relationships, kind of focusing a bit on composition overall, and getting the feel. I got good color notes in there. Definitely accuracy isn't accurate at all. But what I like about these kinds of things is thinking about how the background and everything are affected by the same light source, and how that changes the relative color of everything. So the color relationships are so important and visible here. I like how the hand came out. I think maybe I was a little too fearful of going dark. We could have definitely gone darker. But yeah, fairly successful for a start. Let's copy. All right. So what I just did there is I color picked from the other one, because I'm not color picking from the source material. And the reason I'm doing that is it's going to, by just marking the canvas and giving myself a little bit of color to play off of, I know that relative to this, that looks grayer and greener. So then I can start thinking about it that way. It's definitely darker than that. See how I'm basically triangulating and figuring out, over time where that color is until I have a lock on it. And it doesn't matter where you start, just so long as you start somewhere. It helps. So I think that's probably pretty close right there. I'm painting oh shit, oops. Make a new layer. That's the layer. This one, we're gonna grab that black and fill it again. Oops. Ah, it's all a hot mess. I hate you, undo feature in Photoshop. You so fucked up. All right. Now we are in the clipping mask properly. And my nightmares may end. Photoshop. Let's add a little bit of orange to it. Bring down the brightness a touch. I think between the green and the orange, we can probably get most of this background done. Again, another reason I really like to approach this with the big brush, because it forces me to simplify and indicate. And when you're painting traditionally, you should absolutely be doing this also. Just big brush, mushing around the value. A little bit easier digitally. Obviously, you don't have to worry about cleanup as much. But so also, this is another thing to think about when you are doing your film studies, is when to omit stuff. So, like I said, when you're taking screenshots from film, you're not going to get like the exact composed image most of the time. You're going to be getting something that's a little bit off. So you might have things that are like little pops of color, like this screen down here, whatever that is. I think it might be actually cat food bowls. There's going to be things that don't quite fit. Cut them out. You don't have to portray everything in there. And by doing so, by being decisive, it's going to be a stronger image in the long run. You can't wait until Photoshop reads your mind. Yeah, me too. All right, that's good enough. Let's make a new clipping mask. Let's figure out our lights. And we're gonna do the same thing. And when I say lights, actually what I meant was my foreground figures. Okay, so relative to that green, I know that Hellboy's going to definitely be more red. But he's not going to be super red, he's going to be relative red. Now, of course, this red doesn't even come up here, but at this point I'm just kind of filling in. I'm trying to find the shape more than the color right now. All right, so we also know that she's going to be a bit ruddy. We'll start her there. Relative wise though, much more natural skin tones. If I move the hue, I must alter the saturation brightness if I'm trying to match the same value that I see there. Or even the same value I just painted, either way. Just carving out shapes until I get to the right shape. And it'll take time. Because it's a foreground layer, I'm using opaques and then erasing instead of actually grabbing the background color and painting, because I don't want to lose the backgrounds I've got. Kind of the layout that I did with the background is going to help me generate this composition more accurately, because it's going to give me more points of references for negative and positive shapes. Ah, it's 3:30 there. Oh my god. Well, thanks for hanging, Lazy. Get your ass to bed. Just check it out later. Take care, brother. I'm not concerned with facial anatomy. I'm just trying to make the right shape in the right spot. That's it. He's not the focal point, so we're not going to spend a great deal of time on it. I'm thinking about horizontals, so all of my horizontals are off. Might help to actually grab everything, kind of get it in line. It's one of those things that you don't think about, but it really does help. Like even if you're doing traditional figure drawing or something like that, if you have your canvas or whatever right in front of you, and then the model's right beside it, makes a huge difference to be able to just go back and forth really quick. Oops. Back to that background a touch. I'm doing this because her hair is a dark against the light. But just right there. It's a lot like sculpting. We want to just do the big forms. So by introducing this dark, there's a new gamut available to me. And the dark that I was operating in originally has now become my mid-tone. We have a nice fill light. It's a little bit cooler here. I get sleepy when you guys don't talk. Yep, there are no shortcuts. It's true. Thanks for the follow, Neswin. Appreciate that. No shortcuts for Izzy. You're working on a pirate goal right now for a commission? Yeah, that's the idea. You definitely want to be able to use any work that you do for your portfolio. Take advantage of it, you know? What sucks is when you work on gigs and you're not allowed to show that stuff. My value is probably a little bit off here. It's a little too dark in general. A lot of this relationship will get figured out because I'm spending so much time on Hellboy. I haven't figured out the value relationships on the girl so much. I actually forgot the character's name. Liz, right? So I got to give myself some time to get back to her. So that these value relationships will behave again. All right, so real quick, let's knock this back down. Awesome. How's Moscow right now? Is it chilly? I think I've compressed him a little bit too much into the corner there. All right, looking at his eye, kind of is just a little bit above hers. Oh, shit. It's nighttime. Nice. The majority of my freelance super tight finish stuff where I'm able to get loose every once in a while. It's almost all super tight. So this is an uncommon experience. I love doing it. This is how a lot of my paintings can start, but they always end up, for me, they feel really over rendered because I have to keep working at them. I definitely don't like a lot of my paintings that I've done professionally because they got so over rendered. Like I really liked the Ghosts of Onimusha. Wait, is that not Onimusha? That's a different game. Ghosts of Tsushima. Thank you. the concepts that you did because of those moments that had some nice indication. That shit was dope. You have my envy. But I mean, to be fair, what I've been doing a lot, the vast majority of the stuff I've been doing lately has been illustration rather than concept art. So I don't get to play in that same playground so much. We gotta push this light relationship a little bit more and do a new layer. On the other side of the fence, you do a magic card maybe once or twice a year. They kick your ass? What? Bullshit. Really? Oh, damn. So you're not doing as many illustration type things with the like figures and grounds versus or figures versus ground on your concept art? Don't feel bad. I mean, everybody learns eventually, right? It's not a big deal. So long as you learn, that's the key. What I like about that is that's a really solid note that you can work with, right? A lot of the AD stuff I get isn't so much like that. It's just like there needs to be more snarl. I need to pop this value even more. Oops. Even more. Sometimes it pays to just go real far and see. Okay, that was too far. Somewhere between the two, but a lot warmer. Which means I need to bring up the... Ah, yeah. So this is interesting. I'm seeing lots and lots of worms in her face, which are localized. That's a lot cooler. I'm rendering her a lot more than we were the first guy, so I need to stop doing that. Bigger brush, bigger brush. Let's say this is probably going to be the smallest I get. Or I'm going to try to keep it. This is another trick. If you have to use a big brush but you need little details like thin lines, you don't necessarily need to make the brush really small. You can make this stroke, right? Like this. And then using a big brush, erase it out, and then you get a thin line from it. It's another way to work. I don't like this yellow. It's much cooler than this. Cool pink, it's tough. I'm going to shrink it down just for a minute, just to do speculars here. Doesn't look like her, but that's not what we're after. Joe Kennedy, welcome. Thank you for the follow. Is that my old bud, Joe Kennedy? Shit. I think that's good enough. Well, the big read is there. Maybe the brights could go a little bit brighter. Just a touch brighter, mind you. Levels? No! Levels defeats the lesson. Can't do it. Let's make a new layer real quick. Just do a last little bit of value pops. I think this can go, even though I did punch it a little bit, I can go just a touch more. I think we can solve for the problems that we had on the last one just a touch. I did want to unify values, but I think we can maybe get away with one more in between in that face there. This is to account for what we learned from the last one, that we can just punch it just a touch more. Basically, just describing accent values. It's good enough. It's a film study. What do you expect? All right. Let's see. Oh God, maybe something new that's not so sleepy. What can we do? Uh-oh. Photoshop's frozen. There we go. Had me worried there a sec. Actually, let's use a color palette from here. Can do that. Kind of applying the same thinking that I was thinking about in regard to light and dark value key relationships. But now I'm just painting from my head. Maybe this is more of a fill. And then, let's see, we'll grab this. Do I have a preference of game, movie covers? You mean in terms of the work I do? I'll just group all these values together. No, I actually have a preference not to do covers. Illustration has always been the backup in my head, even though for the time that I was living abroad and doing all that sort of stuff, it was more the bread and butter. I enjoy doing finished paintings, but like covers, like marketing art, not as much. Like it's got to be some kind of, or what I'd like ideally would be an in between, you know, like more finished concept art. I feel like God of War was really fun in that respect. Like I got to paint monsters and boobies and all sorts of fun stuff, and it was pretty rendered, especially for the time. That was really satisfying. But given the choice, probably games. Now that I think about it, it's a little bit less. I mean, also there's just not that much stuff to do movie-wise with posters. You know what? It was all Ryan Meinerding. He worked on God of War for a brief time, way back in the day, and then set the standard for that, and then he did it all over again at Marvel. We were always just trying to keep up. Yeah. I always had Ryan's work up, or like in a folder. And again, he was there for a really limited time, but I had all of his stuff and I just kept it as like my marker, my benchmark. And of course, the whole time I was doing that, he was already like, next level. So good. How about you? What do you prefer, Naomi? You've done it all now. You're departing from Netflix. That was mostly freelance work? Yeah, geez. Ah. Can you get into it all why you decided to bounce, or just wanted to switch it up? Ah. I hear that. I have definitely been there, my friend. Wake up, wake up. La 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 la. Oh, these new hours are just killing me. Eesh. Let's just merge this down. Fuck it. Why the hell not? Thanks for the follow, Fines. Welcome. Love how it gets worse with every stroke. Classic. Thanks for the follow, Branberry. The juiciest of berries. I don't know what weird Tron horse shit this is, but it's pretty fun. Oh, thanks, Brandberry. Glad you dig those. Let's take a look at our color spectrum again. I want something here. Yeah. Furbart, welcome. Thank you for the follow. This is something I'd like to do sometimes for just personal challenges and things like that. Just picking random little slivers of a color key and just inventing something from it. It's never anything like genius. It's not a... Usually it's not even portfolio material, these sketches, but it's really fun to kind of just stretch those muscles, play with the potential. Toy around with color relationships. The cool thing is I mean, like, no matter what, you know it'll work, because it worked elsewhere. Getting like cramps in my hand. Getting old. There's a storm a-coming. Scythe or a flag? Fair enough. Fair enough. I see what you did there. How's it going, Nox? All's good here. You see the tiny dragon far away? Oh, drag slug's around here somewhere. I didn't finish it, actually. Wasn't feeling it, so we'll probably dig them out later. Just figuring out design elements as I go. It's kind of how these sketches work. Reminds you of samurai armor. Yeah, I was definitely thinking of samurai armor when I started. It's definitely taken a more of a fantasy turn, but it's got its roots there. Thanks. Motor sci-fi. Wish you could draw like me. You can make some characters. Just get to drawing. Should see some of my early character stuff. I drew when I was young. Some pretty fun, goofy shit. Just pick some colors and go. That's what I did. I think that's good enough. It's just a sketch after all. It's only a sketch. Poor little guy. Not gonna get any further than this in life. Because why not? Everybody needs some weird little spiny bits on their face. Alright, I think that'll do for today. We did some fun stuff. We got, let's see. We did our warm-ups. Pretty good. Entertaining fun from Hellboy. And then we did a quick sketch from one of the color keys from our warm-ups. Which is, I think that's a pretty good couple hours spent for sure. Yeah. That's fair enough. I don't even know how to spell that, so I'm going to copy it from here. I don't feel like trying to figure it out. We will name the group that. Lucky you. There it is. Thanks, bud. Thanks, Avid. Cheers, gang. Hopefully you all enjoyed yourselves, had fun hanging out. Learned a little something along the way. As always, paint smart, paint sexy. I'm Izzy, a professional writer, concept artist, and illustrator. I've taught painting for a dozen years or so, on and offline. Many of your favorite illustrators and designers have studied with me or under me, and have gone on to teach in their own right. You're here because, like they did, you want to learn to paint realistically for illustration or concept art. Well, worry not, you're in the right place. Grab a seat. I want you to join me as I explain all the aspects of image making in extremely digestible and clear monthly lessons. Not through the lens of silly how to paint hair or eye demos. That shit is carnival tricks. And you're not really learning anything except an exact way to render one thing in one manner. This is painting mysticism at its worst. Watching these kinds of exploitative lessons won't help you level up with your understanding. Sure, now you can paint sparkly hair, but what if you want to paint a dragon, or figure out how to render a sea of fire, or depict a one-eyed transgender space marine dying in the vacuum of space? Painting and image making are tools of communication, and can be learned by anyone willing to put in some time. Like grammar is for language, light, color, and form literally follow a formula. Painting well is not a matter of chicken bones, zombie crackers, and the ever-dismissive concept of talent. Learning with my series, Izzy's Logic of Light and Color, will give you the tools and understanding so you can analyze light and form in reality and bring it to life in your work. Using this simple system I have distilled will help you harness your art to share your ideas as you've always intended. When we are children, we all draw in symbols. Symbols for our house, our hands, the sun, the grass, our pet lobster. As we grow into artists, we must learn to throw away symbols and begin to draw and paint what it is we actually see. And as we grow further, we learn to paint beyond what we see and what is actually there. until finally we move beyond this and learn to trim away what is actually there so we voice only what we want. With me, you're going to have to buckle in and maybe take some pain meds, because I'm going to rip out your normal person's eyes and replace them with a painter's eyes. I'm going to restructure how you see and how you understand what you're seeing. I'm going to turn you into a painting machine. Truly, anyone can learn to paint realistically if they can both determine what they're seeing or imagining with basic and straightforward rules. Once you understand the mechanics of light, color, and form in reality, you will have the capacity to paint anything you can see or imagine realistically. After that, the real fun begins. Here are some of the ways you can join me and master the logic of light and color. The very first lesson of my series is totally free on my YouTube channel. In that lesson, I give you the 3 primary rules of light that are the very foundation of painting and understanding light itself. If you do nothing else to make your painting mastery easier, at least watch this amazing little lesson. It will do more for your basic understanding of light than just about any tutorial you can find. When you're ready to get deeper and you feel like you have those first rules figured out, allow me to utterly blow your mind with the next episodes available on Gumroad and ArtStation. As we go deeper into the rules underlying the logic of light and color, I carefully and simply explain important and interesting elements. From beginner to pro, there is an amazing amount of information available. Each concept has been distilled into the clearest explanation you're likely to find anywhere. Like episode 2, where we cover the atmospheric effect and how that relates to light, scale, and distance of objects in reality, and how to render it. Or episode 3, where I hand over the ultimate key to controlling value in your paintings. Episodes 5 through 8 are all about rendering materials. Want to understand the logic behind rendering metal, leather, hair, transparency, damn near anything. I even cover the logic behind painting special effects like fire, neon, or lightsabers in later episodes. The lessons just get deeper and more detailed as I build on the foundations covered in preceding episodes. The 10th gives you the most important rule of composition you'll ever learn to keep your images interesting. The next few episodes cover important painting techniques like my edge control ninjutsu or simplification with the large to small system. We dip a toe in color theory, devote a few episodes to finishing full-blown illustrations utilizing the techniques we've learned so far. Some episodes, like the lighting game or Advanced Exercises 1, the shirt, present cheap, valuable, and practical exercises to give you explosive growth in your development. Episodes 22 through 25 cover painting and illustration, just like I do for Magic the Gathering, from assignment and inception to signing the painting at the end. Each one is full of tips, knowledge, everything to make working as an illustrator easier. Did you enjoy learning how to paint basic materials? Metal, wood, and such? I got 3 whole episodes devoted to the intricate logic behind painting different kinds of skin. After that, more lessons devoted to pumping life into your portraits and original methods for accurately drawing faces out of your head. From fundamentals to photo bashing, Gumroad and ArtStation have every lesson I create available for purchase a la carte. But here's an even better way to learn with me. Stay current with my latest lessons on Patreon for the lowest price available. Monthly support gets my student that month's lesson, a critique or paint over of their finished work, a discount code for 25% off the entire Gumroad archive, and access to the Logic of Light and Color Discord community, where we plan future lessons, share knowledge, and learn together as a team. The absolute best method is to join my Patreon classroom at the Student Plus tier, where you'll get everything I just mentioned and a free episode from the archive every month to accelerate your mastery at your own pace. You've decided to take control of your painting and master Izzy's logic of light and color. Now it's up to you to choose the path that's best for you. I'll see you on the flip side. Paint smart, paint sexy.